In this video, we will be discussing the Design Procedure Responses page. The objective of procedure responses in SQM is to record the firm's procedure responses. Procedure responses specify the firm's actions required to implement the firm's policy responses. Procedure responses can be found in the Design module. This page includes a table that contains mandatory procedure responses, network procedure responses, and firm procedure responses. Mandatory procedure responses are those procedure responses that are prescribed by the firm's applicable quality management standard. The firm must consider if they are relevant to the firm. Network procedure responses are those procedure responses that are prescribed by the firm's network firm, where the firm belongs to a network. The network firm will distribute the prescribed procedure responses, which are then imported in settings. The firm must then consider if the network procedure responses are relevant to them. Firm procedure responses are those procedure responses that are recorded by the firm and are in addition to the mandatory and network procedure responses. Procedure responses included in the table can only be edited in draft status. If a procedure response has already been signed off as prepared, the sign-off must be removed before the procedure response can be edited. To edit a procedure response already in the table, click on the Expand button to show the record of the procedure response. Select the Edit button to open the procedure response dialog. The content of the procedure response is then edited as needed, and the changes saved by clicking on the Save button. Procedure responses can be deleted by expanding the procedure response and selecting the Delete button. If a procedure response has been signed off as prepared, the sign-off must be removed before the procedure response can be deleted. Note that mandatory and network procedure responses cannot be deleted. If the procedure response does not apply to a firm, it will be marked as not relevant only. These procedure responses are therefore not carried forward in the firm's design of the system of quality management. Only procedure responses selected as relevant and signed off as prepared will be considered finalized and therefore included in the draft system of quality management and published when the firm approves and publishes the draft system of quality management. Every relevant procedure response must therefore be signed off as prepared once finalized. The procedure response dialog can be completed by either adding a new procedure response or by editing a procedure response from the list of procedure responses already included in the table. When completing a mandatory or network procedure response, some of the fields will be pre-populated and cannot be edited. The procedure response dialog contains the following fields to be completed. Linked policy responses, where the policy responses addressed by the procedure response are listed in this field. Title, which is the short title for this procedure response. The title is visible in tables and when selecting items from libraries. It should therefore be concise but clearly indicate what the procedure response is. ID, which is the unique identification number for this procedure response. Type. No input is required in this field. The field is automatically completed based on the process that was followed to include the procedure response. Relevant, where the user selects either yes or no. The default is yes to indicate that the procedure response is relevant to the firm. Reason for not relevant. This field appears when the firm has indicated that the procedure response is not relevant to the firm. It is a compulsory field. Procedure response. This is the field where the wording of the firm procedure response is recorded. When a procedure response is selected from the library, the firm will edit the procedure response to align with the firm's unique characteristics. mandatory and network procedure responses cannot be edited, and the additional description field can be used to provide more context to a prescribed procedure response. Additional description. In this field, the firm can include an additional description of the procedure response, if it is considered necessary. Where mandatory and network procedure responses are selected as relevant, a firm may choose to provide more context to the procedure response in this field. Applicable standards. Select the standard or standards that the procedure response relates to. Where the firm has only selected one applicable standard, then no selection is required. Authoritative references can be included where relevant. Links, where documentation saved elsewhere can be linked to this procedure response. Previously recorded tasks can be linked to this procedure response using the drop-down menu in the Linked Tasks field. When a task is recorded later, the link to this procedure response will be recorded when completing the task dialog. In the Nature field, include information about type of procedure response. For example, is the response preventative, detective, or a combination of both? Will the procedure be a manual process or include the use of technology? Are any additional resources required to implement the response? Indicate the timing of the procedure response by selecting the relevant option from the drop-down menu. Scheduled means that the execution of the procedure response will be a scheduled task within SQM, and users will receive notifications of the tasks to be completed in SQM. Manual means that the procedure response will not be scheduled within SQM, and users will have to manually add a task to be completed when the procedure is performed. In Response Applicable To, select the relevant option from the drop-down menu. The Response Applicable to Other field appears when the firm has indicated that the response is applicable to Other. The field must be completed to indicate who the response is applicable to. The Frequency field appears when the firm has selected the timing of the procedure response as scheduled. The result of the Edit Frequency functionality is reflected in this field. Extent. Select the relevant option from the drop-down menu. The Selection of Activity field appears when the firm has indicated that the procedure is applicable to a selection of activities only. Document detail about the selection of activities, for example, that the procedure is applicable to the appointment of audit staff only, all staff with professional qualifications, or only to first-time employees. The procedure response must be assigned to individual users known as assignees, groups of users known as assigned groups, or a combination of both. The assigned persons will be expected to execute the procedures at the relevant times, either through completing tasks in SQM or through other documentation, such as in engagement files. Include any additional notes or comments in the Note field. The Effective From field is an optional field and will be left blank if the procedure response will become effective immediately on publishing it to the firm's system of quality management. When a procedure response is only effective from a specific date in the future, that effective date is recorded in this field. The procedure response can then be recorded and published before the effective date. The Effective To field is an optional field and will be left blank if the procedure response will remain in effect for the foreseeable future. When it is decided that a procedure response will no longer be applicable from a specific date, the date on which the procedure response will no longer apply to the firm's system of quality management is recorded in this field. The change can then be published to the firm's system of quality management in advance, and the procedure response itself will be in operation until the sunset date is reached. Fields indicated with a red asterisk indicate fields that must be completed before the procedure response can be saved. Fields indicated with a blue asterisk are not required to be completed before the procedure response can be saved, but must be completed before the procedure response can be signed off as prepared. When the relevant information has been recorded in the procedure response, save the information in the dialog. When the firm selects that a procedure response must be scheduled, and that procedure response has been published to the firm's system of quality management, SQM will prompt users to execute the procedure response in the form of a scheduled task. Users will receive automatic notifications of the tasks to be completed in SQM. Please note that notifications will only be sent for published procedure responses with linked tasks. No notifications will be sent for procedure responses that do not have linked tasks in SQM, or where the procedure responses are either in draft status or those procedure responses have been signed off but are not yet published. In edit frequency, the firm will set up when and how often the users will be required to execute the procedure. Select Edit Frequency in the Procedure Response dialog. In the Edit Frequency dialog, select how often the procedure must be completed. Daily has options for every number of days or every weekday. Weekly has the option for the procedure response to recur every day, or to select specific days on which the procedure must be performed every week. For example, the selection can be to perform the procedure every Monday and Friday. In monthly, the firm can select the frequency as a specific day in the month, or for a specific day in the week for specific weeks. In both instances, the monthly interval can also be set. For example, the selection can be to perform the procedure on the last Tuesday of every second month. In yearly, the firm can choose that the procedure must be performed on a specific date of a specific month, or in a specific week of a specific month. For example, the selection can be to perform the procedure on the 1st of February of every year. Before continuing with the rest of the design of the firm's system of quality management, the firm should have considered each mandatory and network procedure response and indicated whether they are relevant or not, recorded any additional procedure responses that are required to address the assessed quality risks, and to implement the firm's policy responses. Finally, all relevant procedure responses should have been signed off as prepared. You now know how to complete the Design Procedure Responses page. This page also contains the following features. Please continue watching for more on the features available on this page. SQM provides the user with various features when working with content in tables. These include group the content by columns, choose which columns to show, filter columns, search for values in columns, expand rows, sort content by columns, and resize columns. Note that customizations made on the view are not persistent, and the table returns to the default view when the page is refreshed. To export data in a dialog or on a page, select the Export All Data icon. A new Excel file will be downloaded to the Downloads folder, from where the user can use the file. Note that this exported file is not in a format that can be re-imported into SQM. To work on an Excel template where content can be imported into SQM, go to Settings, Import. To sign off an item indicating that it is prepared, reviewed, or that the responsibility is accepted, the user selects the Sign Off icon. The Sign Off icon will be replaced by the avatar of the user that signed off. A toast is also reflected at the bottom right corner. To remove the sign-off, select the avatar and click on Remove Sign-Off. The sign-off icon will reappear, and a toast at the bottom right corner will confirm that the sign-off has been removed. Links or URLs can be added to documentation saved elsewhere. URLs can either be to a document in the Caseware Cloud instance or to another location, such as the firm's SharePoint library. To add a link or URL to another document, select the option to add a new annotation. In the dialog, add the link to the field and a note for other users to understand what the document is. Click Save. The newly added link will be indicated by a link icon. Hover over the icon to see the URL and the note for that link. In predefined instances, more than one link can be added. This will be indicated by the Add a New Annotation icon located below the link icon. To add a new item, select the Quick Create icon. Select the item to be added from the drop-down menu. Only items relevant to your role and the module you are in will be displayed. A dialog will open for the newly created item. Complete the dialog and click on Save to save the item, or click on Close to discard and exit. Thank you for watching.